Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadhari Jai Sodanandana Vajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Vajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanacharya Jamuna Tira Vanacharya Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Om Vishwat Paramahansa Parivraj Sismad Habhaya Acharya Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sikho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktavinda Ki Jai Sisi Radha Madhava Govinath Shama Kundrakan Giri Govardhan Ki Sri Vindham Sri Mathura Dham Ki Navadip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai Sri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Gangamai Jamuna Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Sangha Veda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai Sri Advaita Acharya Arabhaptiti Mahotsav Ki Jai Jainitai Gaur Premanandi All glories to the assembled devotees. Glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru Gauranga. Glories to Srila Prabhupada. Because today is the appearance of Advaita Acharya, we will hear about the glories of Advaita Acharya from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. We'll read from and speak some other things from other literatures also. So we read from Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela chapter 6 entitled The Glories of Advaita Acharya. Text number 4. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Mahavishnu Jagatkarta Mayaya Sachitadya Tasya Vartara Evayam Advaita Acharya. Lord Advaita Acharya is the incarnation of Mahavishnu, whose main function is to create the cosmic world through the actions of Maya. Text 5. Because he is not different from Hari, the Supreme Lord, he is called Advaita. And because he propagates the cult of devotion, he is called Acharya. He is the Lord and the incarnation of the Lord's devotee. Therefore, I take shelter of him. Text 6. Sri Advaita is indeed directly the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. His glory is beyond the conception of ordinary living beings. Text 7. Mahavishnu performs all the functions for the creation of the universe. Sri Advaita Acharya is his direct incarnation. 8. That Purusha creates and maintains with his external energy. He creates innumerable universes. in his pastimes. Text 9. By his will he manifests in different forms in which he enters each and every universe. Text 10. Sri Advaita Acharya is a plenary part of that Purusha, and so is not different from him. Indeed, Sri Advaita Acharya is not separate, but is another form of that Purusha. Text 11. Here Advaita Acharya helps in the pastimes of the Purusha, with whose material energy and by whose will he creates innumerable universes. Text 12. Where's the purport we read from this one? Jagat Mangala Advaita Mangala Gunadhama Mangala Charita Sada Mangala Nyantanama. Being a reservoir of all auspicious attributes, Sri Advaita is all auspicious for the world. His characteristics, activities, and name are always auspicious. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Sri Advaita Prabhu, who is an incarnation of Mahavishnu, is an Acharya or teacher. All his activities and all the activities of Vishnu are auspicious. Anyone who can view the all auspiciousness in the pastimes of Lord Vishnu also comes auspicious simultaneously. Therefore, since Lord Vishnu is the fountainhead of all auspiciousness, anyone who is attracted by the devotional service of the Lord can render the greatest service to human society. Rejected persons of the material world who refuse to understand pure devotional service as the eternal function of the living entities and as actual liberation of the living being from condemned life become bereft of all devotional service because of their poor fund of knowledge. So it says here, the Lord is all auspicious. So anyone who's connected with him, anything that's connected with him is also all auspicious. That's his name, form, pastimes, qualities, paraphernalia, etc. And if we connect to those like we're doing now, then we became auspicious because he's all auspicious. Now we're connecting with the all auspicious. All auspicious means the most auspicious, auspicious in every way. And by doing so, one renders the greatest service to human society. Because if you're always connected to the Lord in one way or another, then obviously when you meet somebody, when somebody comes into your contact, they're also going to hear something, see something, so they will benefit. And by doing this, because one's life becomes all auspicious or transcendental, then one doesn't take birth again in the material world. So that's the most auspicious, materially auspicious thing, that you don't have to take birth again. If you don't have to take birth again, then the Lord doesn't have to come and try to redeem us. The purpose of his coming here, one of his purposes, of course there's different purposes, main purpose is to fulfill the desires of his pure devotees who are feeling great separation from him. But that's the main purpose he comes. It means the attraction and the love of his devotees is the main thing that brings him to the material world, attracts him to the material world. And then he performs his extraordinary pastimes to attract the ordinary conditioned souls, like some of us. And and then we can become free from the samsara, and then we can go back to Godhead by this process. So that's his purpose, to deliver the fallen conditioned souls. So if we go back to Godhead, that's the most auspicious thing. That's the best thing. The program is actually successful, and we're successful. So It's always all auspicious, Krishna consciousness. I go back to the purport. In the teachings of Advaita Acharya, there is no question of fruitive activities or impersonal liberation. Bewildered by the spell of material energy, however, persons who could not understand that Advaita Prabhu is non-different from Vishnu wanted to follow him with their impersonal conceptions. The attempt of Advaita Prabhu to punish them is also auspicious. Lord Vishnu and his activities can bestow all good fortune, directly and indirectly. In other words, being favored by Lord Vishnu and being punished by Lord Vishnu are one and the same, because all the activities of Vishnu are absolute. That will tell a story that that some persons wanted to follow him with their impersonal conceptions. In fact, even some of his own sons. So that may have been due to Advaita Acharya was very rigorously preaching Mayavad philosophy at one time for his own transcendental reasons. We can hear about that later. And we'll hear how he was also so-called punished by the Supreme Lord. Mangala, according to some, Mangala was another name of Advaita Prabhu, as a causal incarnation or Lord Vishnu's incarnation for a particular occasion. He is the supply agent or ingredient in material nature. However, he is never to be considered material. All his activities are spiritual. Anyone who hears about and glorifies him becomes glorified himself. For such activities free one from all kinds of misfortune. Prabhu said we can go back to Godhead simply by hearing. One should not invest any material contamination or impersonalism in the Vishnu form. Everyone should try to understand the real identity of Lord Vishnu, for by such knowledge one can attain the highest stage of perfection. The end of purport. Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishnam Shai Bhutare Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namani. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvisesha Shandavari Pasarisadarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So here the identity of Sri Advaita Acharya is revealed by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami as being not different from the great Maha Vishnu. It's also said to be an incarnation of Sadasiva. It means the original Bodha Shiva, Sudasatta Shiva, Shiva on in the spiritual platform, not on the not when he expands as a different, what do you call them? Rudras. Is the material, the spiritual aspect of Lord Shiva, the first aspect of Lord Shiva, who meditates on the Lord Shankarshan. So he's appearing to, when the Lord appears, all the different incarnations of the Lord and his portions, they all appear with him when the Supreme Personality of Godhead appears. To help him, to assist him in his, although I want to see his different pastimes and assist in any way they can. So here, Advaita, generally the different expansions, incarnations, they merge into the body of the Lord. As the Lord events, especially the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, Swayam Bhagavan, the original personality of Godhead, and Lord he's appearing as Lord Chaitanya, a different feature of the same Lord, then the other incarnations also appear with him. So sometimes it's confusing because in different scriptures they're describing the Lord of Vaikuntha, and how the Lord leaves Vaikuntha to avatar in the material world. And he comes to avatar as, say, Krishna, the cowherd boy. This is our Narayan. Or he's a thousand-headed Vishnu. Within the material world there's a place called Svetadvip, spiritual planet. Sometimes he leaves. He takes incarnation in the material world. So what is the origin of Krishna? So whatever particular form you're worshipping, your particular Istadeva in that particular place, you see that particular form go, you leave to take an avatar. So that'll be your understanding. So there'll be different understandings, but everyone is right, in fact, because their Lord does leave and he does take birth as Krishna, but he enters into the original form of Krishna. It's like the original when Krishna goes to the assembly house in Dwarka. He gets into his chariot, and Dwarka drives him, and as he goes to the next palace, the other Krishna comes out, and everyone says goodbye to him, and he gets on the same chariot, but they don't see the first Krishna. They only see that one. So like 16,000 times, they all see their Krishna getting on the chariot, and they all merge into one Krishna. And then when they come back again, they exit the same way. So everyone is thinking, this is my Krishna, this is my Krishna, this is my Krishna. So Krishna is the incarnation of my Lord, events and plays a part of Krishna. Mahaprabhu also revealed that, said this, a similar thing when you see Advaita Acharya, he was more than 50 years older than Lord Chaitanya. And he was respected as the prominent Vaishnava, both in Vrindavan and in Navadvip. So he was highly respectable. And so then, naturally, Lord Chaitanya, acting as a devotee, used to worship him, respect him. And Vaitacharya didn't like that. Because he knew the Lord's identity. He knew Nimai's identity as the Supreme Lord. Because he knew it when he was born, and he knew it later by testing him. And how he tested him when the Lord had revealed his form of the Supreme Lord to several devotees, Srivas Thakur and others, and he was glorifying all of his devotees, and he said to in Srivas Thakur's house, he told to Srivas' brother, you go to Shantipur and bring Advaita. He's known to me as Nara, my Nara. So Ramai, the brother of Shiva, said, I don't know him. He said, no, you go, you'll find him. So he went to Shantipur, immediately found him. And when he approached, Advaita Acharya said, someone has sent you to bring me to Navadvip. And he roared in great ecstasy. So Ramai said, you know everything. He said, what did he say? He said, but you already know. He said, tell me exactly what he said. And he told him what had happened, because Nimai told him, tell him what you've seen, tell him who's here, Nityananda is here, and all these other great devotees are here, Lord Chaitanya wants you to join them. He said that you are the one, by your loud calling, by your fervent prayers, your offering of Ganges water and Tulsi to me, that brought me here. That's what attracted me here. So that person you were worshipping, that person is calling you. Vaitacharya went into complete ecstasy. So then he quickly told his wife to gather all the ingredients of worship and go to Navadvip. So that was one check, but then he said, there's another test. I'm not going to go. I'll be waiting at Nandanacharya's house. And if he's my Lord, then he'll call me, he'll show me his opulence, and he'd put his feet on my head. So when Ramai got back to Mayapur, then Lord Chaitanya, they welcomed him back, and they said, I know where Advaita Acharya is. He's at Nandan's house, Nandanacharya's house. Now you go there, tell him that person who you've been ardently calling is here and waiting for him. Go immediately, bring him. So then they brought Advaita Acharya. Advaita was in ecstasy. And then he saw the Lord, and the Lord went and sat on the Shingasan and took and showed the form of Krishna. Very beautiful. And then Advaita came in and saw him and immediately fainted in great ecstasy. And then when he recovered, then he saw that there was Krishna himself. And Krishna was being worshipped in great opulence by all, Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva were there worshipping him. All the devotees surround him worshipping him. He saw in the sky all the demigods, they were worshipping him. He saw everywhere he looked, he saw just people worshipping. He saw all the different carriers of the demigods, the swan airplanes and the Garudas, or type carriers, aircrafts. He saw all the demigods were laying flat on the floor. Their wives were there chanting, and completely opulent scene. So then Nimai called him and placed his feet on his head. So then he was fully convinced, fully satisfied, great ecstasy, and he began to dance with great pleasure. So he knew he was the Supreme Lord like the other devotees, but he couldn't stand being worshipped by Lord Chaitanya. It's like a rasabas for him. But Lord Chaitanya was acting as a devotee. What could he do? Acharya was the most exalted devotee. So, and it's a bit difficult when you're acting a role. As the Lord is acting a role, there's like two identities there. One he has to keep hidden, his supreme personality in Vrindavan or the spiritual world, and the supreme personality that is exhibited in the material world. So you get switch from one to two very often. So he knew his position, but he knew how he was acting. And Advaita Acharya knew Nimai's position and knew his own position as Vishnu. Because Yogamaya sometimes reveals and sometimes covers these things. Because when Advaita before Nimai was born with the Vaishnavas, they was very perturbed because of the state of affairs in Navadvip. It's very materialistic. The place became very opulent because it was preparing for the event of Mahaprabhu. So everything became very opulent. Life became very easy. And the people here, it was the seat of learning, Navadvip. It was one of the major seats. And there were thousands and thousands of professors and millions of students. And everyone was really learned. Everyone was really smart. He said the students would argue with professors in the street. He said, but because of it was such, good living, easy living, they became a little proud. And they were learned, they were opulent, wealthy, most of them, and they were a little proud like that. So then they forgot the actual essence of knowledge, which is to Krishna stu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna says after many, many births, one who's actually wise, then he surrenders unto Vasudeva. Surrenders unto me, who's actually wise. But they were missing the point, and they were just wasting their lives, spending lots of money on frivolous things, karmakanda things. And they would criticize the devotees, because the devotees weren't so opulent, not all of them, that you're simply chanting Krishna's names, and what is your benefit? Yeah? So the devotees were very upset. The people weren't interested. And seeing the condition of the devotees, Advaita Acharya became very angry, jumping up and shouting in rage, I will kill these atheists. He said, I will act in such a way, he said, that I will cause the Lord to descend. It's a hopeless task here. The Lord has to personally come. He said, and if he doesn't, he said, then I will take out my chakra and I will sever their heads. So then he's in this bhava of Mahavishnu. He was very upset. So there was this relationship dilemma between them. So Advaita wanted to set things right, set things in the right order. So he devised a plan, and he went to Shantipur. He had a house in Shantipur. And there he began to speak Mayapur philosophy from the Yoga Sutras. And he became very popular because he was a great preacher. So he began to get a following. People would come. And then the news got back to Navadvip. Advaita Acharya is preaching Mayavad. So maybe that's why some of his sons went one way, because he was actually preaching Mayavad. Some couldn't understand his transcendental tactics. But Haridas Thakur could understand. Because Haridas was living with Advaita, gave him a place nearby to live. So he was smiling at trying to understand. Anyway, he was smiling. He knew it was something transcendental is going on here, because Advaita Acharya he's preaching Mayavad philosophy, so he was just amused at what's actually happening. So then when Lord Chaitanya heard, then he said to Nityananda, let's go to Advaita, he's preaching Mayavad. Let's go and straighten him out. So then they went to Shantipur a lot, via the Ganga. And so when they rushed up to him, and Advaita was sitting on his porch of his house, then they might yelled at him, Advaita, you're saying that Jnana is better than Bhakti? He's in ecstasy seeing the Lord come. Yes, of course. Without knowledge, what can you do without knowledge? Knowledge is more important, obviously. Lord Chaitanya roared. He got very angry. He jumped up there and grabbed him and threw him on the floor. He was very strong, and Acharya was old, 50 years older, and he was pounding him. It wasn't play. Before they used to play, catch each other's feet. Lord Chaitanya used to try to catch his feet. He used to try to catch Lord Chaitanya's feet. But Lord Chaitanya, in Maya, was very fast and strong. He could never do it. So here also, he threw him down and he was beating him. And he said, he said, what are you doing? He said, I was sleeping peacefully on the milk ocean. That means, right? Svetadvip, that's Vishnu form. I was sleeping very peacefully there on Shesh Nag. By your loud calling, which reverberated through the whole universe, you wake me up, calling me to come here. The whole world is devoid of bhakti. Please, only you can change things. Come here. I came for you, and now you're preaching Mayavad. What's going on? Why do you bother to call me? I was okay up there. Pow, he's beating him like anything. Advaita was feeling ecstasy. With every part, Sita Rani was crying almost. Stop. He may kill him. He may die. He's an old man. Don't beat him so hard. Haridas Thakur was chuckling. So yeah, Lord Chaitanya was very angry. Why? What is it? Anyway, he was like revealing that his actual position. Mahaprabhu was revealing his own position. Don't you know I am the one who killed that rascal Hiranyakashipu for tormenting his own son? I killed Ravana with my arrow. It was me that shot Ravana. I killed Kamsa, the tyrant. I killed Narak, and he started going on all these. I lifted Govardhan hill. Acharya was hearing this. He was happy every time. Yes, go on, Lord, go on. So then when Lord Chaitanya realized he came out of his transcendental ecstasy, Acharya was laughing. Yes, now we have seen everything in the right position. You have rightfully claimed that you are the Supreme Lord, and I am your eternal servant. No one can deny it anymore. So then he became very embarrassed. Said, sorry if I have acted restlessly in my madness, please forgive me. So Lord Chaitanya said, okay. Then it's okay, well, Sita Rani should cook us something, we'll go to take bath. They went to the Ganga, took bath and had a big feast, nice feast there. And he had a very strange relationship with Nityananda, also Advaita Acharya. Of course, it says they're actually the same person. Right? Nityananda is Balaram, Balaram expands as Mahavishnu. Advaita Acharya is not different from Mahavishnu. But they used to have these mock fights. So they're taking prasadam. Towards the end of prasadam, Nityananda used to get in the mood of a young boy sometimes, like 5 years old. And then he starts taking the rice and throwing it all around. Mahaprabhu said, goodness, Nitai, what are you doing? What are you doing? Advaita Acharya pulls a face. This avadut, this is like a drunkard. Nobody knows his caste. Nobody knows where he's come from. He mixes with all kinds of low-class people. Look at his behavior. He doesn't know any proper behavior. He's a madman. He's mixing with all these, anyone and everyone. Now he's coming to join the Brahmana community. I tell you, he's going to spoil everything. We should get rid of this person. So maybe that's why some people thought that Advaita Acharya and Nityananda were indifferent. They were against him. So there was, unless one was actually understand the transcendental position, that they can they'd taken a sign of Advaita that he's so angry at Nityananda, and Nityananda must be a Sahaja Avadut madman. So people actually felt like that. Or other time that Advaita may be a impersonalist, Mayavad. So such are the transcendental situations there. Okay. Then, in Navadip Leela, then Lord Chaitanya was freely giving his mercy to all his devotees, and the devotees asked, "You're giving your prema to everyone, but we see you haven't given to your mother." Sachimata said, "No, I cannot give. She's an offender. She's a Vaishnava aparadi." He said, "Vishnu, how can you say that? She's so pure." He said, "No, she offended the way to Acharya. So she can't get my prem." So what happened? The offense was, she committed an offense in her mind that when her first son Vishwarup, who was a very renounced person, he was just like Nityananda actually. It's an expansion of Nityananda. So he was a very wonderful boy, very learned, and very beautiful. So he would associate with Vaishnavas, especially with Advaita Acharya, and they would discuss Krishna topics. And Advaita loved him dearly. One time Advaita was doing the worship in the deity, and Vishwarup was speaking. He told Vishwarup to speak. And Vishwarup was speaking so nicely, so sweetly, and so much love and devotion that Advaita stopped the puja, came out and embraced him, crying. So occasionally, then it was lunchtime, Sachi Mata used to send Nimai to bring Vishwarup back. Because they lived, you see, Advaita Tall in Srivasangam complex. It's right next to the Yog Pit, where Mahaprabhu's house. So little Nimai, he was young. He was young. He was a young boy, naked, 5 years old. So just one string around his waist with some bells, covered with dust. And he would come to the assembly. And when he came in, everything stopped. Advaita would stop. Everyone would look at Nimai. He was so attractive. And then he would go walk up to his brother and tug his cloth. Dada, come home. It's time to take prasadam. And then they would go. He would take him. And his way to Acharya says, his boy is very extraordinary. I can't understand him. I feel when I see him, I feel like just when I'm meditating on Krishna. So then Vishwarup would spend all his time there. And they thought, the parents thought it's time he should be married. Because they were married young. He wasn't old. And he overheard them talking about his marriage, so then he just took off. He didn't tell anyone, he just took off, took sannyas. And that was, mother said he was heartbroken. And his father was more heartbroken. He actually died, left his body. So then Sachi was thinking, Nimai is the only boy I have. My husband's left, my eldest son has left. Nimai is all I have, and he's very attracted to this Advaitas and these Vaishnavas. He's always going there. He loves to learn and listen, and maybe he'll get, have that understanding that the whole world is actually Maya, samsara. He should follow his brother and take sannyas. So that was unbearable thought for her. So she thought, this is Advaita. He's very powerful, Advaita, but his name is Advaita, which means one. But he's not. He's actually Dvaita. He splits families apart. She was thinking like that out of love for her Nimai. She was thinking, what happens? Well, she couldn't bear to think about it. What happens if Nimai takes us the same way? So she was thinking, and that was the offense. She didn't tell anyone, but Nimai understood. So he said, no, she can't get prema because she is made an offense. The only way to overcome is to take the dust of Advaita Acharya's feet. So then the devotee is told, Advaita, that he's not given prem to, he's given to everyone, but he's not given to his mother. He said, because he says she made an offense at your feet. So he said, how is it possible? How can she make an offense against my feet? She's not possible. Anyway, the remedy, Mahaprabhu says, if she takes the dust of your feet, then she can get. So you have to give her. They say, how can I do that? She's the mother of the universe. She's my worshipable Lord, practically. It's not possible. You flatly refuse to do it. And so when during one kirtan, then Advaita Acharya went into ecstasy and fainted. So they saw him laying there unconscious. So then they called Mother Sachi, come quick, now's your time. Now's your time, take the dust. So she came and took some dust from his feet. Of course, he wasn't very happy when he came to. But this was the Mahaprabhu showing how serious it is to offend the Vaishnava. Of course, he said in Kali Yuga, offences in the mind are not considered. But still, Advaita Acharya is such an exalted personality. He's practically not different from the Lord himself. In fact, he asked Srivas one time, and the old devotees were there, so he said, who glorifying Advaita, who do you think Advaita is? I don't know, he's someone very great. Maybe he's Sukadeva Goswami or Prahlad Maharaj. Mahaprabhu said, what? Sukadeva and Prahlad, he said, they're children in front of Advaita. You don't know, you're equating him with those. He became very angry and picked up a stick and rushed towards Srivas. He was ashamed. Then he was glorifying Advaita. He never told his identity, but he was glorifying him like anything. He said, no, they said these are boys who you said they're children in front. They worship Advaita in his form. And when he met Mahaprabhu that time from Shantipur, then he was when he came from Shantipur, then Mahaprabhu asked him take a blessing. So he said, I don't need any blessing. That I can dance before you, that you can see my dancing. That is satisfying for me. But he asked, if you please bless me that if anyone worships me without worshipping you, that'll be completely fruitless. I will reject them, even if they try to worship me, but without worshipping you. Then Mahaprabhu said the same thing also. If someone worships me without worshipping Advaita Acharya, I won't be interested in that person's devotion. So we have to go to the Lord through his devotees. That is our protocols. That we were teaching by the different pastimes and activities that Mahaprabhu appeared with his associates, his eternal associates. So this is the appearance there of Advaita Acharya. And Advaita Acharya also, as it says here, he never spoke anything that was devoid, which was contained any kind of fruitive activity or mental speculation or any desire for liberation or desire for material enjoyment. He glorified Haridas Thakur so much because they were friends before they came to stay in Navadvip. So Haridas would he gave him a place in Shantipur to stay near the side of the Ganges. But he was sometimes criticized because Haridas Thakur was born or was raised in a Muslim family, which wasn't really acceptable for the strict Hindus society at that time. But however, Advaita Acharya didn't care for that because he was a Acharya in Shantipur. He was recognized as a leading Vaishnava, and they had what they called a Shraddha ceremony where you offer to the departed souls. You offer food to the departed souls, and then you invite the Brahmins and feed them. Actually, there's an injunction: you shouldn't invite too many Brahmins because you have to give the Shraddha plate to the chief, the most elevated soul, the elevated Brahmana. So he said, it says you shouldn't invite too many people, otherwise there'll be some conflict. Who are you going to give it to? Then some others may be upset because they may feel slighted. In any case, he gave the first plate, the offering plate, to Haridas Thakur. And all the Brahmins are there, they were flabbergasted. They were completely shocked. And they just couldn't understand. And so they said, what's going on? He's a militia. Give him this. You're supposed to give it to the most elevated soul, Brahman. He said, yes, that's what I'm doing. He said, Haridas Thakur is worth 10,000 Brahmins like you. Let it be known. Because Haridas Thakur was very embarrassed about it all. But he showed them like that. Then later on they understood. They had some revelation to clear their doubts about the nature of Haridas Thakur being a pure soul. That anyone who is... he was so attracted to Krishna that he couldn't stop chanting his names all the time. That was his. Then Mahaprabhu even gave him the title Namacharya. Although he couldn't try, he didn't go in a temple, nor did he try. He kept away because of the culture at that time. Mahaprabhu didn't do anything. Mahaprabhu didn't try to get these. He also Sanatana Goswami, because Sanatana was a high caste Brahmin, but he was working for the Mohammedan government, so he wasn't allowed in the temple. Still, Mahaprabhu respected their customs, and he gave them a place some distance away. He said, you can look at the chakra on top, just like you can see Petit Pavan on the main gate. There's a little Jagannath deity there. If you can't get in, you can get darshan. And also you get the same benefit by looking at the chakra on top of the temple. So Mahaprabhu gave them a place near the beach. He said, you can see the chakra on top of the temple, get that benefit, and here you can do your bhajan. And don't worry about eating, I'll get you prasadam every day. So Mahaprabhu used to deliver personally sometimes, every day. Almost every day he would come to see them. So that's how exalted they were, because Krishna's not looking at your material situation, your gender or your position. He's just looking at the amount of bhakti that one has. So they were very good associates here, Advaita and Haridas Thakur. So this is the appearance day, and we'll have a Abhishek today at about 11 a.m. in the morning. Abhishek, then Pushpanjali and Arati. And if you want to hear the glories, well, we just read a few verses from, there's one whole chapter on Advaita Acharya in the Chaitanya Adi Leela, chapter 6. Jai Sri Advaita Acharya Prabhu ki, Chaitanya ki, Jai Sri Prabhupada ki Jai, Mayapur Bhaktavinda ki Jai, I go Premanandi. Hare Krishna. Anyone like to add something?